Imagine for a second, um, standing in the dead center of a house you've never been in before.
Okay, setting the scene. I like it.
Right. You are entirely alone. It's totally quiet. But as you stand there, the walls don't just echo your footsteps. They actually seem to be listening.
Oh, that is a deeply unsettling thought.
It gets worse. You feel this sudden, completely inexplicable urge to leave. So you turn around to walk back the way you came. But the hallway behind you stretches.
Stretches, like physically.
Yeah, just a fraction of an inch. Barely enough to even register, but, enough to make you dizzy. So you pick up your pace. But the further you walk toward the front door, the further away that door actually gets.
Wow. Okay, yeah, panic mode instantly.
Exactly. The air grows really heavy. You are inside a structure, obviously, but suddenly every single instinct in your ancient primal brain is screaming this terrifying reality at you.
Which is?
You're not inside a shelter. You are inside a mouth.
Oh, man. See, that completely subverts the most fundamental evolutionary safeguard we possess as humans.
How do you mean?
Well, human beings are biologically convenient than a roof to keep the wilderness and, the predators at bay.
We literally equate architecture with safety.
Exactly. The structural integrity of a building is supposed to be our armor. So when the armor itself actually possesses a digestive tract, our psychological defenses just collapse entirely.
And that total collapse is exactly what we are dissecting today on this deep dive.
Yes, we are, and I am so ready for this one.
I know, right? So we are putting on our seasoned forensic paranormal investigator hats today, and we are opening up case file #94 Delta.
Ah, right. Officially known in the archives as the hum in the walls.
That's the one. The location is Blackwood Manor, which is this massive abandoned estate sitting deep in the woods of Oregon.
Just a classic spooky location.
It really is. But our mission today isn't just to dim the lights and, tell a campfire ghost story. That's not what we do.
No, we have actual data to get through.
A massive stack of sources, actually. We've got field notes, historical archives, raw acoustic data, and some really deeply unsettling eyewitness accounts.
We need to forensically analyze this anomaly the exact way a professional investigator would.
Right, looking at the hard science. We're talking thermal drops, infrasonic frequencies, physical anomalies, because we need to figure out what this structure actually is.
And to do that, I think we must immediately discard the usual tropes of the paranormal field.
Yeah, throw them right out the window.
Exactly. I mean, we aren't hunting for a tragic backstory here. There is no restless spirit wandering the halls holding a grudge against the living.
No Victorian ghosts in nightgowns.
Right. What the data in this case file presents is a biological imperative that is just masquerading as architecture. We are basically investigating an apex predator.
An apex predator that looks like a house. It's so wild. So let's start with the blueprint of this predator. The origins of Blackwood Manor trace all the way back to 1922.
Built by Elias Thorne, right?
Yeah, a highly eccentric architect named Elias Thorne. And almost immediately, the historical documents start highlighting these complaints and bizarre observations regarding the property's, quote, impossible geometry.
And the sources are very specific about this, aren't they?
They really are. They mention phantom rooms that literally do not exist on the original blueprints. But more importantly, they talk about hallways that genuinely feel longer when you try to walk back through them.
See, a detail like that is a massive red flag in any forensic paranormal investigation.
Oh, absolutely.
Because we are not talking about, crooked floorboards or optical illusions caused by bad lighting or poor angles.
Right. This isn't just shoddy contracting work.
No, this represents a localized manipulation of physical space. And when we observe spatial distortion to this degree, it is the classic hallmark of an entity actively attempting to disorient its prey.
Like it's doing it on purpose.
Completely on purpose. It is an evolutionary mechanism designed to strip away your spatial awareness, which induces immediate panic and physical exhaustion.
It reminds me instantly of the Nepenthes, the tropical pitcher plant.
Oh, that's a really good comparison.
Right. If you look at the biology of a carnivorous plant, the structure is this evolutionary marvel designed to make entry totally frictionless.
Yeah, the rim of it is incredibly slippery.
The peristome? Exactly.
Yeah.
It's super slippery, the nectar smells intoxicating, and the internal walls are actually lined with these microscopic downward-pointing hairs.
So the bug just wanders right in.
The insect walks right in without a second thought. But the exact moment it tries to turn around and climb out, the geography of the plant uses the prey's own momentum against it. Escape is literally, physically impossible.
And Blackwood Manor seems to operate on that exact same predatory logic.
Exactly. The front door welcomes you in, but the hallway back acts like those downward-pointing hairs. It traps you.
The pitcher plant analogy is remarkably accurate when analyzing predator-prey dynamics in this specific context. And the archival data proves that we don't even have to wait decades for a haunting to slowly manifest.
Right, it started early.
Very early. The house acts on this biological design almost instantly. In 1925, just 3 years after the foundation was poured, we see the first documented casualties.
During the construction of the West Wing, right?
Yeah. 2 construction workers completely vanished from the site.
I read the notes on that disappearance, and I gotta say, the detail the foreman recorded is absolutely chilling.
It's awful.
The men didn't just, walk off the job to grab a beer or something. Their tools were found fused directly into the foundation of the house.
Fused into the concrete itself.
Yes. The source text states it was, quote, as if the concrete had swallowed them while they were still alive.
Such a specific and gruesome description.
But hold on, let's look at this forensically for a second.
Yeah.
Concrete is a man-made mixture of cement, water, and aggregate.
Right, it's inorganic material.
Exactly. The curing process is just a chemical reaction.
Yeah.
So how does inorganic material literally swallow a human being?
Well, that anomaly right there forces us to redefine the fundamental nature of Blackwood Manor.
Yeah.
Think about it. A traditional haunting operates upon the environment, right? An entity throws a glass or slams a door.
It interacts with the stuff in the house.
Exactly. But in this case, the environment is the entity. From an investigative standpoint, that 1925 incident establishes the baseline behavior.
Okay, walk me through that.
So the concrete curing process you mentioned, hydration, is actually an exothermic reaction.
Meaning it creates its own heat?
It generates a lot of heat as it hardens. The evidence suggests the house hijacked that chemical process. The material didn't just dry around the workers, it underwent an actual phase change.
Wow.
Yeah, it acted organically to break down and absorb complex biological matter. It basically utilized the heat of the concrete curing to essentially cook and digest the proteins.
Oh my God, that is horrifying.
Right. The tragedy wasn't a haunting, it was simply the house having its very first meal.
So the house was basically born hungry.
It definitely seems that way.
And it clearly has an appetite, because just 5 years later, in 1930, the creator becomes the consumed.
Elias Thorne himself.
Elias Thorne, the mad architect of this impossible structure, is found dead in his own study.
The circumstances surrounding Thorne's death are really the key to understanding how this entity evolved.
The autopsy report in the file is just this glaring
It
contradiction.
really is.
The official coroner listed the cause of death as asphyxiation, yet the examination noted 0 external wounds.
Nothing on the neck at all.
No bruising, no signs of a struggle, no defensive wounds on his hands. But when they opened his chest, they found his trachea and lungs completely packed with sawdust and insulation material.
Which makes no sense medically.
None at all.
Consider the physiology of breathing for a moment. The human gag reflex and our coughing mechanisms are these incredibly powerful, involuntary responses designed specifically to keep foreign objects out of our airways.
Like you choke on a crumb and you're coughing for 10 minutes.
Exactly. So for a man to inhale enough heavy, dry building materials to completely fill his bronchial tubes without violently coughing, without thrashing around his study,
It defies basic biology.
it completely does. It suggests either a localized paralytic effect or worse, a willing submission.
See, I've been turning this over and over in my head. Was Thorne just a victim of a Frankenstein scenario?
Like he built a monster that finally turned on him.
Yeah, exactly. Or, and I think the forensic data actually leans this way, was this a deliberate final sacrifice?
That's a very dark theory, but I see where you're going.
I mean, if you built a biological machine, maybe it needed a starter motor.
Like it needed a massive influx of energy to fully wake up.
Right. Maybe to fully activate the house, it required the architect's own life force. The image of sawdust packed into his lungs, it doesn't look like suffocation to me.
No.
No, it looks like the house literally breathed itself into him.
Viewing the house as an evolving organism makes that theory highly probable, actually. The consumption of the creator represents a really necessary biological step. It's a transfer of energy.
That makes total sense.
And the fact that the substance in his lungs was the exact material used to build the house suggests a terrifying symbiosis.
It's like an exchange of materials.
Exactly. The house is asserting dominance over its maker. It is replacing his fragile biological interior with its own structural interior. That is a total inversion of the natural order.
And whatever biological transfer happened in 1930, it worked.
It certainly fueled it for a while.
Because then the house just goes dormant, right? It's digesting, integrating Thorne into its walls. And when we look at the next major event in the file, it becomes clear the house's digestive system has become exponentially more sophisticated.
We're talking about the 1952 incident now.
Yeah, a family of 4 moves into the manor in 1952.
And they actually managed to survive inside the structure for 3 whole months. That timeline is really crucial.
Why is the timeline so important?
Because it means the house is no longer relying on immediate brute force consumption like it did with the construction workers.
It doesn't need to ambush them in wet concrete anymore.
Right. It is savoring the process now.
Savoring it and really breaking them down psychologically?
Oh, the psychological toll is immense.
After 3 months, the authorities find the entire family sitting out in the overgrown backyard. And they are completely mute.
Just staring blankly at the exterior siding of the house?
Yeah, not making a sound. But it's the physical mutilation they inflicted on themselves that is so staggering to me.
It's one of the most disturbing details in the archive.
All 4 of them, from the father all the way down to the youngest child, had used a carving knife to cut deep interlocking circles into the palms of their own hands.
The archival description of those specific carvings is our most vital clue here. Medical examiners noted the interlocking circles distinctly resembled a rudimentary diagram of a digestive tract.
That is just insane.
As an investigator, this tells me the house is not just silently killing people anymore. It is actively communicating its anatomy to its inhabitants.
Wait, so are you saying the house somehow downloaded that concept into their brains?
Yes. It is a form of severe psychic trauma.
Like brainwashing.
Think about neuroplasticity, right? The brain's ability to reorganize itself under the constant pressure of whatever anomalous forces the house exerts. The family's neural pathways were fundamentally rewritten.
So it forced them to see the truth.
The house forced them to understand its true nature. Imagine the psychological break of realizing, slowly over 90 days, that your living room isn't a room, but a stomach chamber.
Oh, God.
That the hallway you walk down every night to tuck your kids into bed is actually an esophagus.
I'm never going to look at a hallway the same way again.
The extreme mutism isn't just trauma, it is the total collapse of the language centers in their brains under the weight of an impossible reality.
They couldn't even speak about it.
Exactly. They carved the truth into their flesh because they literally no longer had the cognitive ability to speak it out loud.
They were basically branded by the predator.
Yeah.
That realization just makes my skin crawl.
It shows how much the entity has evolved.
Right. The house in the 1950s knows exactly how to shatter the human mind before it breaks the body. Which brings us to the most meticulously documented and honestly the most terrifying piece of evidence in this entire deep dive.
The Thomas Miller case.
Yes, the 1994 disappearance of Thomas Miller.
Thomas Miller really provides the Rosetta Stone for this entire investigation. He is the last documented resident before the modern era.
And he wrote everything down.
Unlike the family in the 50s, Miller kept a daily, real-time record of his own consumption.
So he vanished in the fall of 1994. And the police report is entirely baffling.
A classic locked room mystery.
Right. There are no signs of forced entry. The deadbolts are all locked from the inside. There's no blood, no signs of a struggle. Just a totally empty house.
But they found the diary.
Investigators found his diary shoved deep behind a loose floorboard in the master bedroom. And I'm telling you, these entries read like a step-by-step manual on how this entity hunts.
Let's start with the entry from August 12, 1994.
Okay, yeah. So the August 12th entry introduces the acoustic manipulation. Miller writes, quote, "I heard it again. It's not the pipes. Pipes don't have a rhythm."
He describes it as a low, heavy thumping echoing under the floorboards, specifically likening it to a massive heart beating.
And he reacts the way literally any normal homeowner looking for a water leak would react. He presses his ear directly against the drywall to locate the source of the sound.
Which is exactly what the house wants him to do.
Yes, but he doesn't hear water. He doesn't hear a mechanical thump. He hears a whisper.
A very specific whisper.
And he writes that the whisper sounded exactly like his mother's voice. The really horrifying part, his mother had been dead for 10 years.
The biology of that tactic is deeply, deeply sinister.
What do you mean biologically?
The entity is utilizing highly advanced psychological bait, using the voice of a deceased loved one, bypasses the victim's amygdala.
The fear center of the brain.
Right. If the house emitted a monstrous growl, the human fight-or-flight response would trigger instantly, and the prey would run out the front door.
Yeah, I'd be out of there in a second.
Instead, the victim is drawn in by a comforting, deeply familiar sound. It serves one specific biological purpose: to lure the prey into physical contact with the wall.
Getting them right up against the drywall.
The predator needs the victim within striking distance.
It is the anglerfish of the Pacific Ocean.
Oh, the bioluminescent lure?
Exactly. The anglerfish survives in pitch black water by dangling a glowing lure from its head. The smaller fish sees the light, associates it with food or safety, and just swims right up to it.
Right into the trap.
By the time the prey realizes the light is actually attached to a jaw full of translucent teeth, it's already inside the stomach.
It's an ambush tactic.
Miller survives that night, but the situation deteriorates incredibly fast. By August 25th, the house basically begins dropping the illusion.
The environment begins revealing its true biological nature. Miller notes in his journal that the vintage wallpaper in the hallway is constantly damp.
Yes, and when he tries to peel a loose corner of it off to check for mold, which, again, normal homeowner reaction, the wall physically flinches.
Just pause and think about the sensory horror of that.
I don't want to. You pull at a strip of paper and the architecture recoils like you just pinched its skin.
That capillary action, the dampness he describes, suggests the house is secreting fluids, actively preparing for digestion.
That is repulsive.
Furthermore, Miller notes that the low hum he initially heard is now a constant, deafening drone. He explicitly identifies it as a 4 Hz frequency.
Which is really specific.
He also documents severe sleep deprivation and claims his vision is constantly blurring.
And because his vision is compromised, his brain starts filling in the blanks.
The hallucinations start.
He writes about seeing a shadow standing in the corner of his kitchen. He describes it as having too many joints, and notes that it never actually moves. It just stands in the corner, waiting.
A classic predatory posture.
This tactic completely mirrors how certain spider venoms work. Some neurotoxins don't kill the insect instantly upon the bite. They paralyze it, disorient it, keeping the meat fresh in the web before the spider actually begins to feed. The house is pumping Miller full of an acoustic venom.
Now, we actually need to correct a very common misconception here. When investigating acoustics in paranormal phenomena, people often use the term subsonic.
Right, like subsonic frequencies.
But in physics, subsonic refers to the speed of an object moving slower than the speed of sound, like a passenger jet.
Oh, I see the distinction.
The scientifically accurate term for what Miller is experiencing is an infrasonic frequency. These are sound waves operating below 20 Hz, which is the absolute threshold of human hearing.
Wait, if it's below human hearing, how does he even know it's a hum? How is he experiencing it?
Because infrasound doesn't actually need to be heard to be felt. The sound waves are physically massive.
Like pressure waves.
Exactly. A 4 Hz wave can easily pass through solid concrete and human tissue without losing any energy. Research done by scientists like Vic Tandy at Coventry University has proven the physiological devastation of these waves.
I think I've heard of that research.
Tandy discovered the ghost in the machine effect. He found that frequencies around 18.98 Hz perfectly resonate with the fluid in the human eyeball.
So the sound waves are literally vibrating the fluid inside his eyes.
Precisely. It causes the eyeball to oscillate at a microscopic level, which produces profound optical illusions.
Oh, wow.
Smears of light or dark shapes in the peripheral vision that look remarkably like, say, a shadow with too many joints.
That perfectly explains the thing in the kitchen.
Furthermore, lower frequencies, like the 4 Hz Miller recorded, penetrate even deeper. They resonate with the internal organs and directly assault the central nervous system.
Causing what exactly?
Inducing unexplainable feelings of extreme dread, paranoia, and the acute sensation of being watched.
That reframes everything. The shadow in the kitchen wasn't a ghost at all. That was the house weaponizing acoustic physics against Miller's own biology.
It is hacking his nervous system to soften him up before consumption.
Which leads us to September 3, 1994. The final entry in the diary before Thomas Miller ceases to exist on this plane of reality.
It's a very difficult entry to read.
His handwriting is erratic, totally panicked, and he writes, "I figured it out. Thorne didn't build a house, he built a trap. A lung made of wood and stone."
A lung made of wood and stone. In his final terrifying moments, Miller actually achieves absolute clarity. He understands that the vibration is not a mechanical byproduct of old plumbing. It is a biological hunger.
He notes that the entity has moved from behind the drywall into his actual skin.
The predator has breached the final perimeter.
And then he leaves this final frantic warning underlined 3 times in the journal. Don't look at the corners. They are watching from where the light fails.
That warning regarding the corners of the room actually becomes the foundational text for the modern investigation team years later.
How so?
It establishes that the 90-degree angles of the house serve as the primary feeding zones. They are the exact coordinates where physical Euclidean geometry intersects with the anomalous biology of the entity.
And so Miller just vanishes. The house sits empty, digesting its meal in the Oregon woods for nearly 30 years.
Biding its time.
Which brings us to the present day, well, October 2025. A team of researchers finally enters Blackwood Manor with modern equipment to validate the paranormal with hard science.
And this is where things get truly forensic.
Yes, and the name of the lead investigator heading up this modern expedition, Elias Thorne.
See, that surname is far too specific to be a coincidence.
I mean, we have Elias Thorne, the mad architect who poured the foundation in 1922, and Elias Thorne, the lead investigator, walking through the front door a full century later.
It raises some very troubling questions.
I have to wonder about the implications here. Is Alex a direct descendant? Does epigenetic trauma pass down through generations like that? Or, more terrifyingly, did the house specifically project a signal to call a Thorne back home?
Forensic analysis of multi-generational anomalies shows that bloodlines act as incredibly powerful conduits.
Like a homing beacon.
Yes. If Blackwood Manor consumed Elias Thorne in 1930, physically integrating his cellular biology into its foundational structure, it is highly probable that the entity now operates on a frequency tuned specifically to the Thorne genetic signature.
So Alex might not even be there by choice.
Exactly. Alex may believe they are conducting an objective scientific investigation, but biologically they might simply be responding to a century-old beacon.
Let's look at the data Alex's team actually collected, because this is the moment the ghost story evaporates and becomes cold, hard, terrifying science.
They brought in some serious equipment.
The team sets up a perimeter of sensors. Let's start with the acoustic data. Within an hour of setting up, the microphones record a consistent infrasonic frequency fluctuating perfectly between 3.8 and 4.2 hertz.
Which perfectly validates Thomas Miller's journal entry from 3 decades prior with absolute scientific precision.
A 4 hertz hum.
The house is still actively transmitting, but the acoustic data is only the beginning. The thermal readings they captured are even more staggering.
The temperature logs are honestly impossible. The sensors show that the center of the living room remains at a perfectly normal ambient 22 degrees Celsius.
Standard room temperature.
Right. But the corners of the room, the thermal cameras register an instantaneous temperature drop to -4 degrees Celsius.
To understand the sheer impossibility of that, we have to look at the first law of thermodynamics.
Take me back to high school physics.
Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transferred. So a localized temperature drop of 26 degrees within a matter of seat in an open-air environment totally defies natural physics.
So if the heat didn't just vanish, where did it go?
It was consumed.
Consumed.
Yes. If we operate under the theory that the house is a biological machine capable of bending physical space, well, that level of spatial manipulation requires a massive amount of energy.
Fuel.
Exactly. It is an endothermic reaction. The house actively feeds on the ambient thermal energy of the room to power its impossible geometry. The corners are freezing because that is where the house is opening its mouth.
Oh, that is a terrifying visual.
The corners are actively feeding.
Which proves Miller's frantic warning wasn't madness. Don't look at the corners. He could literally feel the heat being sucked out of the room.
He was completely right.
But Alex's team goes a step further than any previous victim. They don't just observe, they take physical samples.
This is where it gets groundbreaking.
They extract a core sample from the drywall in the west wing. And the lab analysis of this residue introduces an entirely new category of entity into the field.
Let's hear the lab results.
The lab report states the drywall contains a mixture of calcium, iron, and a complex, unearthly DNA sequence.
A sequence woven directly into the building materials. This discovery single-handedly bridges the gap between spectral haunting and biological cryptid.
Because it's actually alive?
Look at human bone structure. It is primarily composed of calcium and hydroxyapatite, while our blood relies on iron to transport oxygen.
Okay.
The house is utilizing the same elemental building blocks, but binding them with an alien genetic code. It suggests a silicate-based biology rather than a carbon-based one.
So Elias Thorne didn't just lay bricks. He cultured a massive stationary organism,
A living
a
mineral.
living mineral. Every floorboard, every ceiling joist, every layer of paint is a cellular component of a beast. And because the team took a piece of it, the beast wakes up.
They provoked it.
The team decides to stay the night, and reality inside the manor completely fractures. Let's examine the visual evidence captured on their internal cameras, specifically the mirror incident.
Oh, during the 3 a.m. shift.
Right. The stationary camera in the second-floor hallway records an event that defies optics. Investigator Sarah is standing perfectly still in front of a heavy antique mirror.
Just standing there.
But her reflection turns his back and walks away from the mirror, deeper into the reflected hallway.
I've analyzed that raw footage a dozen times, and the optics of it are stunning.
My brain simply cannot process it. Sarah is frozen in fear, but her reflection is casually walking away. It's like a glitch in a video game.
A rendering error.
Yeah, like the house is trying to simulate reality to keep the prey calm, but it's getting too hungry. Its camouflage is failing, and it can't keep the mirror image synced with the real world.
The physics of reflection actually explain why the house struggles here. A mirror operates by bouncing light particles back at the exact angle they arrive.
Right. Simple physics.
But if the house is actively bending spatial dimensions to hunt, the path of light is altered. The entity can manipulate the physical walls, but it cannot render a reflection of that manipulated space in real time.
So the mirror desynchronizes.
Exactly. What Sarah is seeing isn't a ghost. She is seeing the house's intent. The reflection walking away is the biological process of digestion already beginning, pulling her essence deeper into the structure while her physical body remains paralyzed by the infrasound.
The visual glitch is horrifying enough, but we have the live audio transcript of the exact moment it happens, the real-time exchange between Alex and Sarah.
Let's break that audio down.
Alex orders Sarah to focus the parabolic microphone on the corner where the temperature has plummeted. And immediately, the needle pins, they pick up the 4 hertz hum.
The entity is no longer passive. It is directly engaging the threat.
Sarah's voice on the tape drops to a whisper. She tells Alex to look at the dust motes floating in the beam of their flashlights. They aren't drifting to the ground under the force of gravity.
No, the physics have changed.
They're swirling in a violent microscopic cyclone. They're being actively inhaled by the wallpaper.
We are witnessing the physical manifestation of Miller's final words. The lung made of wood and stone.
The wall is breathing.
The fluid dynamics in the room have totally shifted. The house is drawing air, dust, and microscopic organic matter directly through the porous surface of the walls. It is respiring.
And Alex, the seasoned investigator, completely loses his composure. He screams over the radio, "Don't touch the wallpaper!" He remembers Miller's warning about the entity moving into the skin.
He realizes the danger they're in.
He introduces the most terrifying concept in the entire case file, the scent. Alex yells that once the house recognizes your biological signature, your scent, the humming will follow you home.
And that completely shatters the parameters of the threat.
How so?
If the danger is localized to a physical location, you can simply run away. You just drive off the property. But if the entity tethers its acoustic frequency to your specific biological signature, it acts as an infection.
Like a virus.
The infrasound is no longer just generated by the drywall. The frequency becomes permanently embedded in the victim's own auditory cortex.
So it's inside your head.
You could flee to a different continent, but the acoustic hook remains. You will hear the 4 hertz hum in the walls of every building you ever enter until the psychological toll forces you to consume yourself.
It's an infectious geometry. And on that exact same live audio recording, as they turn to flee, Sarah comes to a realization that stops my heart every time I read the transcript.
The hallway.
Her voice is trembling. She says, "Alex, we've been sprinting down this hallway for 10 minutes toward the front door. But the door is getting further away."
The impossible geometry that Elias Thorne designed in 1922 is fully activated. It is actively hunting them in real time.
Sarah says the house is stretching, Alex. It's breathing us in.
By utilizing hyperbolic geometry, the house ensures that the kinetic energy the prey expends trying to run toward the exit actually propels them deeper into the digestive tract.
It's the pitcher plant all over again.
Exactly. The physical distance of the hallway is an active illusion controlled by a living mineral that is currently inhaling its prey.
As we try to synthesize all of this data, we have to face a grim, paradigm-shifting reality. We have tracked the evolution of an apex predator from its first meal in 1922 to an active consumption event in 2025.
It's an incredible timeline.
Blackwood Manor is not haunted. There are no ghosts. It is a biological organism made of wood, stone, and impossible physics. It digests its inhabitants by weaponizing spatial geometry, thermodynamics, and acoustic neurology.
It demands that we reevaluate our core understanding of safety. We live under the assumption that the physical world, constructed of manufactured materials, is inherently inanimate.
But Blackwood Manor proves that predatory biology can mimic architecture flawlessly.
Which brings me directly to you listening to this right now.
Yeah, I want you to think about the space you are currently in. Look at the walls around you.
We all hear things in our homes, right?
We do. The subtle, sudden creak of the floorboards when the temperature shifts at night. The low, rhythmic hum of the refrigerator that you usually tune out. The dark corners of the bedroom where the overhead light just barely fails to reach.
How much do we inherently trust these structures?
Exactly. We close our eyes and sleep inside them, completely vulnerable, assuming they are just inanimate shelters.
We brush off the creak as the house simply settling on its foundation. We never pause to consider that the sound might be the house flexing its muscles.
And I want to leave you with one final, deeply unsettling thought to mull over. A thought born directly from the margins of these case files.
The bigger picture.
Right. If Elias Thorne, a brilliant but eccentric architect in 1922, was able to successfully synthesize this living mineral,
If he figured out how to culture an organism that flawlessly masquerades as a manor house,
and if his descendant, Alex Thorne, is investigating it a full century later,
what are the chances that Blackwood Manor is the only one of its kind?
from an evolutionary standpoint, it is a statistical impossibility that a highly successful apex predator reproduces only once.
It would have seeded other structures.
Exactly. So the next time you walk down your own hallway late at night, and for just a split second it feels a little bit longer than it did yesterday,
You have to ask yourself,
is the house just settling or is it getting ready to inhale?